Welcome to Haunt Topic Radio, the podcast for haunters by haunters. These are our scary visions.
Ooh, Halloween is here. Are you ready? Well, if you've been haunting, this is probably getting close to the end of your season. If you like to attend haunted attractions, you probably already hit a few by now, because why would you wait to the last few weekends of October to attend a haunted attraction? Because it gets so busy. And if you're a home haunter, you're probably preparing for that spooky, crazy night at your house. Whatever you're doing, we hope you're taking advantage of October and everything that it has to offer. In this episode, we get Alex on from HauntPay. We talk everything about the industry, statistics, numbers, comparisons. What are haunted attractions actually doing? How much are they charging? How many people are they hiring? Are they using online ticketing, in-person ticketing? What type of themes are they using? And so much more info. Alex and his team have put together this survey. They do this report every year. How does your haunt compare? If you're interested in learning more about the industry and how other haunted attractions are doing across the country, then tune into this episode. It's a must listen. There's still plenty of time to get your scare badges. A lot of people order their scare badges after the season once they get their attendance numbers. They're planning for their after season parties in November. Some people have them in December. You still have scare badges in stock, so get yours today. We hope you had a great October. Let's roll into it. Our time spent with Alex from HauntPay.
Alex, if you want to, why don't you just start going through the report, and we'll just talk about it and
Cool.
go with that and see what people say and kind of questions they have, and we'll just roll that way.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm Alex at HauntPay. I did not, by myself, author this report here. Kat, our marketing director, and her team, really put the legwork behind this. They do every year, so they did an amazing job on putting all this together. But I get the pleasure of presenting it here, so I'm excited to walk through some of this. So like the basis part here that I would, preface all this with is we started this a few years ago because when we decided that this is our fourth one. So we've been doing this for 4 years, and we had clients coming to us and asking us about data every year. They were saying, hey, do you have any insights into this or that? Because you guys work with so many. We work with over 1,000 haunted events and attractions every year now. I think it's actually closer to 1,200 this year. It's growing literally every year. And so we do get a lot of really cool data, but we thought, why not just ask, some of our clients about this, especially leading up to the haunt season. We always try to get it out, a little before the haunt season. This year we were a little later than I would have liked, but it takes time to get this data in and put it together. Next year, we'll try to get it a little bit more in advance yet, so people can use this to adjust their marketing if they want to do any of that. But the goal here is to get, reliable, current, recent data about the haunt industry, especially around the business side of things. We see a lot of people doing the latest haunt trends, the latest, scare trends, the latest costumes and stuff like that, depending on what you're looking for. We're looking at the business side. So that's what this is about here. So, one thing right off that I think is kind of interesting is that crowd predictions, and you see some text here. We're going to get into some numbers in just a second. Crowd predictions are getting more and more reliable. So as you guys know, like, things were wild coming out of the pandemic with haunts. Like, numbers started taking off. 2020 was a great year for the folks that were able to open. 2021, we saw really good stuff, maybe slowed down a bit in 2022, but most people were still up. And last year, things kind of mellowed out a little bit. It wasn't as across the board up for everybody. In fact, across the board, we did see like it was almost a 2% increase when everybody was averaged out, but more than half of our existing returning clients we saw were down. And I think that's one of the interesting things here. Instead of people shooting for the moon, they're getting more realistic expectations, but we're still seeing growth over time. So one of the things that you'll see, I think it's maybe on the next slide, this is kind of interesting. What kind of haunted attractions are you doing? Where are they located? We've got not that crazy of a split between indoor and outdoor and split equally. So a lot of people are doing some of both. 45% are only outdoors, 31% only indoor. Kind of makes sense. The outdoor ones are usually a little less expensive. So that's why you see a little bit less, or more people doing that sort of thing. Yeah, the having some of both is going to be a little bit more expensive. So that's the lowest number. Indoors is kind of in between there. That kind of makes sense to me on a lot of this stuff. But you were just talking about this, Brian. What do we do? As far as like, I want to see who's doing escape rooms, who's doing midway games, who's doing corn mazes. And you can mouse over these if you do the online version and get some of this data. But indoor walkthrough, that's the most common thing that's going on here. 63% of people are saying yes to that. Outdoor walkthrough, 59% of people are saying they have something like that. Midway games, here we've got 18% of people that responded to this are saying we're doing some sort of midway games. That is growing over time. That's interesting. And I love seeing that. I love seeing that more and more people are putting experiences and entertainment between the actual attractions. So it enhances the whole night, right? Like, come hang out for the whole night. You don't have to just do a 30-minute walkthrough. Come hang out, have a good time, make an evening of it. That is a trend that you're going to see in a lot of this data that we've got here. Escape games, 14% of people say they have some sort of escape games added in, usually the mini ones, that sort of thing. That's interesting. 13 or 14 on the Haunted Hayride. 12 have a corn maze. 12 have some sort of live entertainment. Now, this is literally the option that we put in there. So I'm not saying this is necessarily a concert that people are putting on. Some people might be saying their queue entertainment, is live entertainment, but it is, again, self-reported. But yeah, it's kind of interesting too. I don't know what those are. And zombie paintball is down here at 8%, but still a decent number if you're thinking about all the haunts out there. That's a lot.
I think Scarlet badges are one of the smartest things I've seen in the industry in a really long time. Scarlet badges are basically either pins or embroidered patches, kind of like merit badges, as they are, somewhat named after, from Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and Brownies, and where after you've accomplished something, you can wear the brag tag of the embroidered patch. Some haunts put them on jackets, some put them on t-shirts, some put them on with the pins. I've seen them put them on lanyards. But the neat thing about them is they are very specific in what they are rewarding. And they're haunt-based images that reflect what's being rewarded. It's retention, it is bringing people back, and it's actually giving your haunters, your haunt performers, the ability to share that they are haunt performers. And, oh really, you're a scare actor. Where do you do that? And then they will insert the name of your haunt right there. So it's also marketing. I've always been a big fan of Scarlet badges. I think they're great. So check them out, scarletbadges.com. No, that is not a paid advertisement. That is just my recommendation. I think it's really cool.
ScottSwinson.com.
Have you seen that? Has escape games gone down at all, or do you think they're staying the same?
That's a good question. I don't have my last year's one up here to show the comparison there. My gut on this, from what I see anecdotally here, is that they're going down a little bit. I'm seeing less add-ons for escape room games, I believe, as a whole. And certainly overall, I think we're seeing, obviously we had that spike, what was it, 2017, 2018 of escape games like as their own thing. I think that was the peak popularity, where there was like 3,000 or 4,000 different escape rooms across the country. Like every corner had an escape room on it, it felt like, for a little bit. And then it started self-weeding out, right? Because all of a sudden people were comparing them and they're like, I don't want to do this little one that Joe Schmo set up over here. I want to do this big one that's got an Indiana Jones boulder that moves out, to get into the door. And, the expensive ones kind of deal there, the ones that had a lot of money on them. So it started condensing. And I do think, it kind of ebbs and flows a little bit. But I believe that what we're seeing on the mini escape games, they're really cool. The mini escape games that are out there are really cool, but just the general escape room popularity has come down a little bit from that peak. And I would guess is kind of, flatlining right now. I would bet that it's finding a nice even part, and we're going to continue to see, something around that 14, 15%. Maybe it'll bump up to 20 one year, but, back down around there of those that are actually adding that on. Because, not all attractions, it doesn't make sense on all attractions. Some of these outdoor only places, I guess they could pull a trailer up and stuff, but they didn't put together the resources. They don't have the crowds. It doesn't make as much sense. But 14 or 15%, that's actually a lot of haunted houses. If you think there are
Right.
2,500, 3,000 of those out there, that's a lot of them doing add-ons for mini escape games. That's interesting.
Well, it's so big enough that the Transworld's carrying it. They still have
Oh, dude,
their escape game wing down
big
there.
business. Yeah,
Mhm.
big business.
For
Absolutely.
the escape games, what kind of are they just like the 5-minute ones, 10-minute ones? How are people doing that? Do you have any of that kind of data?
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't survey that. Unfortunately, people stop filling out your survey when you get to a certain number of questions. So we got to try to zero in a little bit. Believe me, we would like to ask them 150 questions on this stuff here and get a little bit of everything. But unfortunately, we've seen in the past, the longer they get, the less people fill it out. And this time around, I think, between the two surveys that we had that fed into this, it was something like 300 or so that we weeded it down to. Like, we toss out people that, are a haunt enthusiast when they answer stuff. Like, we like that data and we'll use it in some of the questions, but for most of it, we're not using that. We want to zero in on haunt owners and that sort of thing. But yeah, so I can't tell you from the data there. We didn't ask that specific question on what kind of escape games there are. But yes, anecdotally seeing people that are using our platform, using HauntPay and having those add-ons, we are seeing a lot of those 5 to 10 minute, mini micro escape games. Some of them are timed in advance. And you have to pick tickets in advance. Some of them you just walk up and do. Some of them it's a little bit of a combination of the two. Definitely not like I don't think people are doing full 1 hour escape rooms around their haunted houses for the most part here. Though, some people have, like, we've got a great one locally here, Eloise Asylum, one of our clients here. Huge establishment. They've got literally an old, insane asylum that they work at, and they've got plenty of room. So I believe they keep those escape rooms going, during this part of the year. They do that during the day. They keep that area open because they've got something like, 100,000+ square feet between all their buildings. It's just nuts. So some people can afford to keep that stuff going. Some people, it doesn't make much sense, and it's more just those mini escape games. I'd say that's the predominant number there. Yeah. This is interesting to me. Does your haunt host any events during the off season? This has changed. So it was going up steadily, and last year it peaked with a huge number of people saying they were going to do off season stuff. And this year it's back down a little bit from last season. So if you see this, do the negative math on only operated in season, about 26.5%, 27% of people are doing something that's off season, or doing stuff that's not during the haunted house season, such as these. We got almost 8% on Friday the 13th, 6% Valentine's, 4% have something operating year round. That's probably a lot of those guys that do escape room stuff and things like that the rest of the year. Other seasonal events, 21.6%. Generally you're going to find a lot on Holiday and Krampus, 9.8%, Zombie Prom, 2%. But in general, most people are doing only operating in season. So I wouldn't say this is expanding as fast as it used to. It used to be true that certainly it was just haunts. Then it blew up for a little bit, and now it's kind of contracting. Though there's still a big business. Again, 26% of haunts, 27% of haunts doing holiday stuff is still a lot of them. Still doing stuff that's not just in the haunt season. It's still a lot of them. And it's kind of interesting that they find it valuable over time, to keep doing this stuff. And we see, obviously there's some numbers. Every haunt owner knows this. There's a certain number of people, and you've all got your own number, but there's a certain number of people you're willing to open for, when you're anticipating crowds, and a certain number you're not. You're just not. Even though it seems cool to be able to do that, you just don't want to go through all the headache of hassle of getting your workers together, getting everything set up, all that for, X number of people, 50 people or whatever that's going to come through this. But 27% of the haunts out there find it valuable to open during these off seasons. And you know what would be really interesting? I'm going to say something that we don't have data on this. Would be to compare that across, like, is that metro areas mostly? Is that rural areas? Where are those going on? And is it the most popular haunts that are actually getting those, extra seasons, or is it not necessarily the most popular haunts? Again, anecdotally, I actually see the most popular haunts we work with kind of stick to the haunt season. That's their main season. They might do one or two other things, but they're mostly doing the haunt season. It's kind of that weird mid-range of haunted houses that likes to open during these off seasons that I'm seeing anecdotally on our platform the most of. So that's kind of interesting too. Just something to throw out there.
It also probably depends whether you are set up permanently all season or whether you have to set up in the 2 weeks, because if you got to set up for 2 weeks for Valentine's Day, is it worth it? Probably not.
Absolutely. No, I hear you there. Approximately how many guests did you have in 2023? Again, self-reported here, but some really good numbers. And in fact, you're going to see, if you were to like combine all of these here, 88.2% of haunt owners said they were over 1,000 guests, which is good. That is a growing number. Nearly all of half owners, nearly all half of all haunt owners, 49.1% said they expect more than 5,000 guests. So like these numbers are growing overall. Now, used to be 5,000 guests was a mid-size haunt, and I think now that's on the smaller size, with some of these. So that's kind of interesting to see too, that the industry is still growing, at least in those numbers. We see the average number of attendees hitting these haunted houses going up. And that's it. That's cool. That means that people that are getting in tend to not hang out at that, no visitors level, that sub 1,000 visits level for too long. They can really get things bumped up on a regular basis. Yeah. Let's see. Next up here. And here's the expectation. So I did combine a couple things, what they were, did see and what they expect to see. But that's again, interesting to see. And very close numbers. If you look at this, those charts look pretty close to what actual were versus expectations. So again, we just think this stuff is people are getting more accurate with how they're able to anticipate these numbers. And some of that might be because there are more people doing online ticketing. They keep better track of their data that's coming through there. Some just might have better tallies at the door, all that sort of thing. But people seem to have a better grasp of those numbers coming through. Whereas last year, again, people were just shooting for the moon on the expectations, but the actual were way below it in there, which is interesting to me. So kind of jumping ship, into another topic there. That's the kind of attractions. I think it's interesting to take a look at the affordability. I mentioned this to you guys ahead of time, but like haunted attractions are one of the most family friendly, family affordable attractions that are out there, paid things that are out there. 80% of haunted attractions charge less than $30 for their lowest level admission. And this doesn't mean that they don't, potentially have 3 tickets that you could go to. And if you only buy one, like it could be one of those that you're only buying one based on these numbers. But almost half, 45.1%, are actually charging $20 or less for their lowest price admission, which that blows me away. That's super affordable, especially when you're seeing like concerts go up. If you go to a Ticketmaster ticketed concert, you're like $80, $100, $120. If you go to a MLB game, you can't get that family 4-pack for $40 anymore in the outfields. Like it just doesn't happen. Like you're paying $40 a person. It's just nuts, even at the nosebleed stuff. So I love this. I love seeing the affordability here. Thanks for keeping your prices low, guys. It makes it affordable for those families out there.
Do you know what causes haunted attractions to shut down before they even get started? The top 3 roadblocks are lack of funding, lack of leadership, lack of resources. As a member of the Haunters Toolbox, you get instant access to the tools you need to start and grow your own haunted attraction business. To get started, become a member at HauntersToolbox.com.
So here's some of the data that feeds in there. When you're talking about the numbers and that sort of thing, this is interesting to me too. Ticket sales, 86.3%. Of course, you're going to expect that to be the biggest revenue driver, but it is kind of almost climbing on this side of things. So previous years, we didn't always see that as the biggest revenue driver. So, and it's kind of zeroing in, like ticket sales is the big revenue driver, not sponsorships, not concessions, that sort of thing. Always good to keep those in mind, but that's kind of where the data is. Most people are doing a flat admission for everything. Doesn't matter if you have 3 or 4 attractions. they're doing a flat admission, 64.7%. 23.5 are doing separate, admissions for different attractions. Daryl, I'm curious, what do you guys do on the pricing? Do you charge separately for those 3 attractions you have?
No, it's just a single entry price, and then you can upgrade to a speed pass. So that's generally we thought about doing it separately, but or advertising it as, hey, it's for this one, you get the 2 for thrown in, the other 2 thrown in, sort of thing. But the way our layout is, they're sort of all accessible. Now that we're scanning the tickets at each attraction's entrance, though, we do have that possibility to do that, but we haven't chosen to do that yet. So
interesting.
Now, under the other that you have, is that different attractions, like the games, the escape rooms, the midway, that sort of stuff? Is that what falls under other, or what?
I wouldn't think so. It literally was a choice in this case. The other was, and sometimes maybe we shouldn't always give another, but that was an option with these questions here. So, and the question literally was, what statement best describes the ticketing policy at your haunt? So I'm not exactly sure what that means. It might mean they have a season pass, type entrance. It might mean that it's, absolutely free. Who knows? It might mean that you only get in if you went to this, minor league ball game down the street. I doubt that's the case, but there might be some weird thing going on there with that other. I don't know why 2% answered that. It'd be interesting to dig in with just those people that answer other on some of these questions, follow up with just them. Yeah. Because we already have the pay what you can or donations, so I don't know exactly on that one. And I always don't understand this. Why did 2% of people are they taking the whole survey, but they won't answer that question?
Yeah, prefer not to answer.
Cracks me up, but we'll throw it in here. That's fine. Approximately how much do you charge admission? We already kind of went over that, but there's the total breakdown with the different price amounts, which I think is interesting too. You can kind of decide where you're at. Brian, you said you guys were, in that $25 range when you left there and that sort of thing. So that's, one of the biggest, that is the biggest range there right now, which I love. Really not that many people that are in those higher dollar, the 31 to 40, 41 to 50 amounts. But, I bet what they're doing, I bet the ones that are there are like what Daryl was saying, they are saying, hey, it's 3 for 1 price in this case, and it kind of makes me think that some of these folks that are reporting $0 to $10 or $11 to $20, $0 to $10, that's probably a community, a nonprofit
or
thing.
Charity. Yeah.
Yeah. Charity thing. Yeah. $11 to $20. I wonder if a lot of those might be people that are doing 3 different attractions or 4 different attractions, and they're splitting them up. They say you buy a ticket separate to each one, or you could get a bundle of it all together, because that seems awfully cheap for, 30% of the haunts out there, but I could be wrong. That'd be interesting to ask people a few more questions on these things. Like I say, we have to stop somewhere, but
yeah.
I know when we, a lot of haunts that start out, they're afraid to start charging that amount.
Yeah, that's true too.
They're having the whole confidence thing and, trying to be the new guy, trying to get the people to come in. I've seen a lot of people in the Haunter's Toolbox, asking about admission prices.
Yeah.
To me, I think you need to price what you're worth. A lot of people say the 1 minute per or $1 per minute, 20-minute walkthroughs, a $20 haunt. I think it's all, what kind of stuff do you have, the services that, the extras that you provide, how long you're there on site, but yeah, you could be right. That's why I was thinking to the charity, nonprofit haunts, but
yeah, we'll get into some other data on the nonprofit stuff later too, which is kind of interesting that we did zero in on a little bit of that. Yeah. What payment methods does your haunt accept? Cash is still king. Most people accept cash. In fact, what is that? 84.3%, still accept cash. That's great. Credit debit card, 76.5%, of course. Contactless payments of some sort, 51%. I think a lot of people accept contactless and they just don't realize it. Any Square card reader or any, HauntPay card reader.
It works with Apple or Google Pay.
Yeah, exactly. All that sort of thing. And then, this is interesting. 5.9% reported no online sales, no in-person sales. I like that. I mean, of course I like that. I run an online ticketing platform, but it means
You
that more
go.
people are selling out, right? Like more people are selling out before people get there. And another thing that we've seen going on once in a while is that people will, they will say no at the door ticket sales, but they'll still have a QR code up there. If you don't have tickets yet, you could scan that QR code and buy for the next time that's available if you got time ticketing or whatever. It just might not be immediate, right? It might not be that time that you're showing up. You might have to come back for those tickets, So that's kind of interesting too. We've even had, we do events the rest of the year, not just haunted stuff. Our non-haunted stuff, we go under the name Passage, just because people don't like the scary eyes with sports, tickets. But we've seen more and more folks that are doing that sort of like hang a QR code up there. And yeah, they'll still have a box office, but if you want to just buy outside via this QR code, it saves people from having to wait in line, to buy tickets at the door. And it's kind of an interesting practice there. Yeah. Approximately what percentage of your haunt's total revenue comes from ticket sales? Yeah, most people are living off their ticket sales. So I don't think there's any surprises there. But it is interesting that we don't see more people pushing, sponsorships, pushing merchandise, pushing concessions. There still is value there. Some of the data that we surveyed shows some people are getting some good value out of that. And one of the lessons, if you could take one from this, is I would say look at those fringes. A lot of haunted houses, you get to the end of the year and you're make or break on a few percent, right? You're not huge profits. It's still kind of small on those profits. And if you had an extra 5%, that would have been the difference maker. And maybe if you added in some of the small items, they could add it up to that extra 5% on your bottom line revenue. And that would have been, the difference between a vacation, to Paris next year, in the off season, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. Do haunters go to Paris? Who knows? I did, side thing. I actually did go to Paris earlier this year. It was my girl's trip, my fiance's trip. She loves that side of the world, and nobody would go with me. But my number one thing that I wanted to do is go to the Paris catacombs because I'm a haunter. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. There's miles and miles just lined with these skulls and bones, and it's the coolest, eeriest thing in the world. I love it. If you go to that side of the world, check it out, man.
That's probably what I would do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. All right, so the queue. Here's another, interesting section for us. Haunt owners understand the guests who are standing in line are not spending money. So one of the things that we've seen coming up over time is that people are figuring out ways to not have you stand in line, during this. So we're already talked just a little bit about more midway games and things like that, other opportunities to spend money to keep you there, not just waiting in line for your haunted attractions. More than 3 out of 4 haunts, 78%, are using a VIP entrance. Daryl, you mentioned this, or skip the line pass to offer guests a shorter wait while increasing the revenue. I love that side of things. Virtual queues is still a fairly big thing. Around 15% of haunted attractions are self-reporting that they're using virtual queues now. So you get a little text message instead of waiting in line. We've seen more and more. We actually see a higher percentage on HauntPay. So it's around 20% that are using it on HauntPay right now. So that's great. Those are decently sized numbers. There's a lot of different strategies for that there. But 19%, here's the interesting thing that you're going to see in the slide here. 19% of haunts said that they don't use any crowd control methods at all or don't plan to this year. So one of the takeaways is, does that mean, queue entertainment's making a comeback? Are people, trying to get people back to standing in line? I don't know. That's a weird shift from years past where it's just been going more and more, crowd management, crowd control, virtual queues, VIP, front of the line, passes, whatever. And now 19% all of a sudden are saying that they don't want to use any specific crowd control, just wait in line and go. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what that ends up being.
This podcast episode sponsored by Scarlet Badges.
We always were looking for ideas to get those actors to take it to the next level. I really want to do something that they can use more than just a meal, or they can use more than just a that a boy, that a girl. They love this stuff, but it's not really promoting a haunter. And then I sit down, Scarab Badges comes out. That's when I realized this is amazing, because not only is it giving them an attaboy, but it's also promoting them all year round. And to promote somebody, to give somebody accolades all year round and have them be able to wear it on their shoulder with pride means a lot. This right here says this is who nailed it on this day in this year for the rest of their life, for the rest of their haunting life. And that's what I really love about this product, is you're able to give haunting to somebody an attaboy 365 days a year. And that's, so hats off to you guys. I think this is a great product, and I wish you the best of luck because it's awesome.
Get your Scarab Badges at scarabadges.com.
So what percentage of your tickets are sold online? 45. It's always right around 50%, you know, that these breakdowns are. It's been that way for a little bit, though. I would say before 2020, it wasn't. Before 2020, it was less, you know, on the online, and it was growing every year. Now it went up a little bit above this for a while, but then it's kind of zeroed back in around that 50% range. So 45.58 say that the tickets are sold online, or 45.58% of tickets are sold online, 50.6 sold at the door. You'd think they'd add up. You know, we did self-reported these numbers again, so it's pretty close to 50-50. Bundled tickets. So yeah, does your haunt offer any of the following ticketing options? Bundled tickets, decent amount, 21% there, 22%. Subscriptions or memberships, a few. So this is like season passes or something where you keep coming back. We're seeing some there, around 2% that are there. Flex passes, customer choice bundles, frequent fear passes, that sort of thing. That's at around 3.9%, say 4% there. More season pass things. So I guess the membership's a little different there. Season passes, 5.9%, and none of the above. You know, most people are just doing flat ticket sales. They're not doing these weird, you know, special group bundle options. That's 67% there on none of the above. And if you get into like crowd strategies, like we were just talking about, VIP entrance, 43% of people. Skip the line pass, 35%. Time ticketing, 39%. Virtual queues, 16%. Nothing, none, 19.6%. And other 9.8%. I want to know what the other is. Again, I just like, what do you think is a crowd management strategy?
Somebody's figured out teleportation, and you can just teleport you right into the haunt.
Yeah, or are they just randomly kicking random people out of the line? Like, I don't know. It's so weird. Yeah, what is the other? This is one, you know, I kind of mentioned to you guys earlier, we were going to get back to the nonprofit stuff. And this is one of my favorite parts, the marketing efforts, but also the amount that haunters give back. It turns out we're quite the generous crew. Like people that are outside of this, right, that hate Halloween stuff and all that, they're all like, it's all from Satan. You guys are all monsters, you know, literally, right? You know, they intend the pun there. But crazy thing is that haunts love giving back. 53% of haunters actually are giving back, as in they're run by a nonprofit or they have their proceeds go to a nonprofit. So over half of haunts that you come in contact with have proceeds going to a nonprofit, which I just like. And as far as marketing strategies go, word of mouth is number one, 90%. But most haunts, this is kind of crazy, actually engage in digital marketing. So that jumped from like 36% last year that was reported. So I'm wondering, you know, maybe some changes are happening in the reporting, but 36.5% reported last year that they were engaging in digital marketing. And this year, digital advertising specifically, this year that was over 80%. 80%. Wow. That's nuts. So death to the darn billboards. Finally, I think, you know, and probably some of the radio ads too, which is a bummer, you know, but like I think a lot of people are going digital just because it's easier to keep track of you know, when somebody ends up buying based on the dollar you're putting in. I don't know that it necessarily always makes sense though. You know, just because you can't track it, billboards are hard to track, radio is hard to track, TV is hard to track. Just because you can't track it does not mean it's not effective. And watch for those things because there might be some gems there. If enough people leave billboards or leave radio or leave TV or whatever it ends up being, if enough people leave those more manual ways of doing this advertising, then the prices are going to go down on those because those industries will be starved. So watch for some good deals over there. Keep your eyes out. I think that's interesting to keep your eyes out. Staffing continues to be the biggest challenge for haunt owners. 62.7 of haunt owners say that's their number one problem, while some others, mention promoting their haunt, getting the word out about their haunt, and things like that. 51% actually say promoting their haunt was their biggest problem. We actually introduced a new feature this year that will submit you to local event directories to help you get the word out and get you listed in 10 to 15 local event directories, from radio directories to Chamber of Commerce to visitors bureaus, that sort of thing. Works pretty well. It's pretty cool. So digging into some of that data, how many full-time and part-time employees do you have at their haunt this season? 9.8% have over 100. That's nuts to me. That's a lot. Makes sense, big haunts, a lot of people. And I think some of them, don't have people that are working necessarily, 30, 40 hours a weekend per person, right? Some of these guys are, can only do one night, right? And so depending, especially the volunteer ones, I would say more so have people that can only do 1 or 2 nights a week and they can't do all 4 or something like that. So they might have inflated numbers a little bit too, but 9.8%.
For some reason, some of the people, their day job, they kind of want to keep it because it pays them the rest of the year and they don't just want to do this the whole time. So sometimes that is a challenge, right? And I understand we've got, over 200 staff, but not everybody is working every night, right?
That's amazing.
Because we have, over 100 actors and we're using less than 100 every night. We have management, we've got customer service people, we've got janitorial, we've got the people working concession tickets. So not everybody is working every night. And it does help out, with getting multiple people so that you can have janitorial every night. You don't realize how important that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's very true.
Clean bathrooms.
And so you can see the biggest chunk is probably that 26 to 50. That looks like 31.4%, but it's pretty evenly distributed around here. That's kind of nuts. Advertising, we already talked a little bit about this, but word of mouth, biggest 90.2, digital advertising, second biggest 86.3, organic social media, third biggest 82.4, partnerships, not big enough. I can't express it enough. The haunts that we see doing a good job of partnerships kill it. They kill it on the additional sales. They get special sales in that they're able to give group sales and all this other stuff that just significantly increase their numbers. Go out, get a partnership with a local nonprofit. It'll help, I promise. Print ads, those are down this year. Broadcast and radio, 43%. That's, I think, about even. Outdoor advertising, I think that's fallen a little bit, but that's at around 51%. So it's kind of interesting. Other, the only 0%, that's showing up here for other. I don't know. Wow. That's interesting.
Where's guerrilla marketing on here? I don't see guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, there's no apes listed in this one here. Yeah. No, I think that's what works. Yeah, you hand out your flyers, you go out and do the street business. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, parades.
Showing up in parades, sponsoring little things. There's a company that I know that at certain events hands out, pop sockets or bottle openers or stickers or pins and badges, just that sort of stuff. Even at our haunt, customers chicken out or soil themselves.
I love that.
They get rewarded with a pin that says I chickened out or I lost control at the name of the haunt.
Yeah.
And you make sure that they pin that on themselves and their friends see it and their friends, I'm not going to do that. Just that sort of guerrilla marketing that's out there. Things you don't think about, right?
And I think scare badges are a great one. I love those things, man.
I wasn't going to mention this, but yes.
Oh, we're talking about guerrilla marketing while doing guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And I think, some of this obviously we're leading people a little bit. We give them suggestions and we give them a way to put in other, and write some stuff in. But we probably didn't have that as an option. Realistically, I need to go back and look through, those options, and that might be one that we can add. I already wrote down a note here that, maybe we should have that as one of the options there, because people tend to click options. They tend not to click other and write in my own, type thing. So yeah.
Exactly.
And would word of mouth be a form of guerrilla marketing?
Sure. I think some
Yeah.
people are probably using that, they're checking that instead, but it might be worth having, another option in
break
there
it down a
too,
little
because
bit.
But yeah,
Yeah.
just the stuff that your haunt gives away, such as pins, badges, or
Oh.
even if you're, you go out to an event that's got water bottles, and people love putting stickers on their water bottles, so you
Mhm.
take a handful of stickers and you go out and advertise your event, their event,
Yeah.
as long as you can, get away with it. But you hand out your stickers on some water bottles, and then people start talking about it. So that might fall under word of mouth, but it's more than that word of mouth. It's that swag. And
Yeah.
maybe that's something that you call it in a future one. So you
There you
got
go,
word
sure.
of mouth, or you've got swag.
Yeah.
So t-shirts, stickers, pens. Does anybody do pens anymore? I don't think so.
Only at trade shows and
Only at
conferences.
trade
Yeah.
shows.
Right.
Who in the hell uses a pen? But
Cool. I like that. That's good. That's a good idea on that one there. What if any social networking sites are you involved with? Facebook and Instagram always win here, but this is the biggest year ever for TikTok at 54.9%. That's nuts. TikTok is coming out of nowhere. They're killing it. But probably go down a little bit next year if they end up getting banned. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. YouTube also up there, 47.1%. And then everything else is a little bit lower. Twitter doesn't even exist anymore, right? It's X now.
well, it's X, but yeah.
Snapchat, Pinterest, LinkedIn, there's a little bit of everything on there, but and that good old other. I wonder what that social network is there. MySpace. It's those folks that are still on MySpace.
There are other social medias out there, so it's just
Yeah,
nobody
no,
knows
I know
about
they
those.
are. Is your haunt affiliated with a nonprofit? This is the one that I, mentioned that I love. Between, yes, the haunt is operated by a nonprofit and a portion of proceeds are donated to a nonprofit. That's 53%. That's over half of them there. I love that. I think that's awesome. Again, the prefer not to answer. They're feeling bad now. We made them feel bad on this one. Because they were in the know, were not affiliated, but then they realized they probably should be, giving some of their proceeds away, so they just preferred not to answer. What do you feel are your greatest challenges as haunt owners? Like I said, staffing is the number one here. It's tough to find people that'll work midnights, for us out there. Not only midnights. I know there's a lot of prep work during the days and build work and all that sort of stuff, but it's just tough. It's tough finding people right now. So staffing is a tough one. Whoops, I jumped a little quick there. But next up, promoting your haunt. Like I said, we've been adding a lot of functionality just around this based on this survey, really, because this keeps coming up as one of the top 2 or 3. Overhead cost. Of course, those costs are high. Real estate costs are going up. Rent's going up, all this stuff. Lumber, through the years, it might be down a little bit this year, but it's up versus what it was years ago. So like all these overhead costs and stuff, they're all going up. And then everything else is a little bit lower. Yeah. So that's kind of the gist of it. I hope there was something in there that was valuable to folks out there or helps you at least benchmark yourself, right? Like if you're a haunt owner and you can see this and benchmark yourself, maybe you can tell yourself, hey, we're doing okay. Give yourself a little pat on the back, we're not in the worst of things here. Or maybe, oh, shoot, we should have thought about that. We should have been involved in this sort of thing. We should have been on Snapchat. Yeah. I don't know. There's the learnings. What do you guys think? Any questions?
No,
any comments?
yeah.
We've got some questions and comments, and Brian and I will end up kind of going through them here. Somebody mentioned they've got a zombie hunt experience with gel blasters, and they've seen 80% of people add it for an extra $8, $5 if they're online. So one of the best decisions we made. So there's that initial cost of getting that set up. You got to buy the equipment. There's that initial investment. But when you think of it as an investment and you've got 80% of your customers that are dropping an extra $5 to $8, it might not take that long to pay off that investment. And while they're there, if you've got the concession booth, if you've got beverages, whether alcoholic or non-alcoholic, if you've got a shop where they can buy some of your swag, all of that rolls in So when you think about doing an investment, carefully analyze that fact that if I'm only going to be adding an extra $5 per ticket and it cost me $1,000 to set this up, how many customers do I normally get? And is that going to be profitable, right? And generally in business, you're not always going to roll a profit on something new that first year. Sometimes it's not for 3 to 5 years. But when people see that and it's fun and it works, they invite 2 friends next year.
Yep.
And those 2 friends invite 2 friends next year. It's like that shampoo commercial, right? And it just grows exponentially. So one of the best decisions they've made, that was Devin Price that commented on that.
That's
so
great.
I think that's just a wonderful idea. They saw it as an investment, not an expense. Important way to look at things.
Absolutely.
Brian, what you got?
I was going down the same list you are over here.
Mm-hmm.
So John Acors with Midway games, are they paid? I've been going back and forth on having Midway games, but I'm leaning toward having free games instead of having an employee at each game. Will just be a time filler to make the Gen Ed seem worth it. That's what the Dead Factory did. They created, I don't know if he still has them out there or not, but games while you waited. I don't know. Eli, he's in the group. Kramer, I don't know if they still have the games out there or not, but I know it's the first year Scott created the Midway 2 years ago. I think it was the best decision they made because now you get your ticket, you go to the witch booth, you get a keychain with a number on it. Then you have a guy that's announcing people in over a loudspeaker, and they have a digital board with your number on it. So while you wait, they have food trucks and music out there, movies, and all kinds of stuff that you can be doing.
Yeah,
while you're
we
waiting.
still got the live games and all. We even have live movies that they can watch, food trucks. There's washers, cornhole. I think we got like a little ball maze that them and their friends can get together and try to work the ball through the maze without losing. So
that's awesome.
Definitely a lot of outside activities for people to do. Plus, the line queue actors go out and entertain with people and talk with people. And every now and then, if we do get a break, we can go out and talk with the crowds and this and that. And so we do keep pretty busy and keep it entertained.
Cool. I think the customers like it too because they're not standing in line. You know, he's made it inside where there's actually 6 groups slot that's waiting. So he has 6 groups inside at all times, and he just keeps recycling them. So
yeah, I mean, there's like 2 things from lines there. Like we number one said, like, if people are standing in line, they're not, paying you for anything. You're not making money off of them, right? Like, you're gonna, when they get to the attraction, that's great, or the ticket that they bought, but like they could be doing other things in that time. But even if you do the free stuff, right? Like, there's also the side of the reviews. 90% of those bad reviews you get, the negative reviews you get, are about line lengths, or at least that's most of what we're seeing out there. So the more people are standing in line, also the less, they're leaving you good reviews. So I think it plays in both ways. If you can entertain them, have stuff to do, keep those lines a little bit limited, or broken up through multiple attractions, time ticketing, virtual queues, whatever, anything like that, and have the other entertainment there, it all adds to the overall experience.
John said upstate New York is all $40, I'm assuming, plus, which is cool, but also difficult to get into that market and feel like you're giving value immediately.
Yeah.
Now, Catherine Becky does have a question for you, Alex. You mentioned other admission types. Some haunts charge separate admission per attraction, but offer bundles where you could choose 2 or 3 to visit. I'd probably still call that a separate admission, but some folks might interpret it differently.
So Kat, by the way,
question.
But. Yeah, Kat is our marketing director, by the way. So it's her and her team that put all this together there. So Kat's trying to add some color.
This is a loaded question.
That's from earlier when we were talking about that. I think she was trying to answer it. I just didn't catch it here.
That was on the Facebook side, so you might not have been watching that chat, right? So
yeah.
Somebody had answered a code with HauntPay. You just have the code from online scan that they bought online, and Kat had answered that one too as well. So that's good. What else have we got? Brian, you go ahead. See what else there is.
We had some over on Zoom. Kramer said, I don't mind buying VIP or paying a little extra. When I can, I support other haunts. There's a bunch of work some people are unaware of that you have to do when you're haunting. Yes. Little can go a long ways too. I'm glad we have a good following and keep going. And that's the thing, is like the first few years, you're just constantly throwing it back into the haunt. So it's like, to get that word of mouth. It takes several years to have a good show and treat people good and continuously adding to your haunt and improving your haunt and remodeling your haunt and changing things up and adding food trucks and midways. That's why you can go from a $13 ticket to a $25 ticket, because you're actually adding more value for people out there. So
Absolutely.
Wayne has mentioned that once the customers understand virtual queue lines, they love it. Not having to stand in line when it's cold or raining is great. No more guests constantly coming up asking how much longer they have to wait. It's been great. We also don't have to try and get people in at a specific time. One of the things we do at Dedmonton House is we have time ticketing for entry into the building, but you don't have time ticketing for each of the attractions. So you can come in, we sell X number of tickets between 8 and 8:30.
Right.
So people line up, they come in at 8:30, but then they don't have to go into a haunt right away. They can go have a beer or a cooler or get some food. We do recommend that they kind of get into the haunt right away, at least one of them, because we've got 3 different attractions, 3 different queue lines. But we keep them entertained throughout that. There's a photo op area, there's a concession, there's 2 different bars where they can, get beverages, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. We've got some mocktails or non-alcoholic drinks as well, and it's an evening because they spend more time. We've even got fire pits outside where we're selling s'more kits, and that's one of those little things. It's only a few bucks, $5 or whatever for a s'more kit. That's enough for I think it's 4 people maybe, or 2 s'mores each if you got 2 people. But it keeps them occupied, and we haven't had anybody poke each other's eyes out with the s'more sticks yet, so we're happy about that.
do you sell
Absolutely.
alcohol along with the s'mores?
We've actually, I'm not sure if we got one this year, but we did have a drink last year
That'd be
that
dangerous.
had you sold the drink and then they flamed the marshmallow on top of it. So we've got some fun cocktails.
Cool.
Our bartenders have fun.
And for people that are watching or listening, there are other ways, like if you don't have the resources to do a midway yourself, you can have vendors come in. I've seen where they bring a coffee vendor and a barbecue vendor and an axe throwing
Sure.
vendor, and people are selling gifts and crafts and stuff like that. So you can kind of make it your own event, whether you charge them a setup fee or you take percentage of whatever they make. That's something you guys can work out, but you can do it without your own money. So,
Yeah, that's something I was about to bring up was that you
Yeah.
would have that fall festival stuff, which would bring vendors from all over the place, crowds, this, that, events for like the younger generation kids that have coloring books, knickknacks, this, that, and it'd be an all day event for the public. I even brought out local fire trucks to entertain the crowds and whatnot.
Yeah.
yeah, because
Now-
the parents come back later with more people, so it's
Yeah,
a good
exactly.
marketing thing too.
And if you don't have that concession stand or a beverage stand, you may be able to get a food truck or something out like that. Now, food trucks might be a little dicey because that late in the year they might not be operating, so they got to dig out their equipment, at least up here anyways in Canada. But they need to they often want, it's like, okay, we want to have a minimum number of sales, right? And some of them, you might need to work on some cross promotion. I don't know whether you need to pay them or whether you get any kickback if they sell, if they meet their quota, then do you get a percentage of their sales? Try and work some of those things out. And if they're unsure, maybe that's where you comp them a set of tickets on your second weekend in or something like that, or second night, and saying, here's the kind of crowds we're getting. This is beneficial to you. Let's do some cross promotion. We'll say that this food truck is coming. You tell us you're going to be at our haunt. We'll do that cross promotion, and it's better for both of us. And if you can find food trucks that are willing to do that with you, and we've even seen food trucks that have done a special theme because they're at the haunted house. They'll rename some of their stuff in theme with Halloween or your haunt, right? So it just adds that extra little bit of professionalism, keeps the crowds there longer, and the longer you stay in their minds, the better that is. Except, and they're waiting in line for an hour or 3.
Yeah, I
try-
love that idea. Yeah.
That's what the Dead Factory started doing 2 years ago, was creating that midway, and they have food vendors. They used to have 2 or 3 food trucks out there, but I think it's best to have one at night because
Yeah,
they were competing against too much food and the vendors weren't. But then again, our crowd
they weren't. The
numbers
food trucks weren't making enough,
weren't
and then
making
they
enough
get mad.
money.
And they don't come back.
Right.
Sure. Huh.
So I'm not sure what kind of deal they have worked out with them, but it's good that, well, and there's tables too. There's tables and chairs and umbrella, tents to set at. And so the convenience of it is good. So you can watch your kids play, or you can sit and watch your kids go in and hang out. And plus the queue line actors rock out there. So the entertainment's always fun watching kids. I like just go out there, hang out, just watch.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it anymore. I just come out and play. So.
I love it.
That's fun. That's fun to
I
do that.
I always tell people that's the worst part of, like, just like you guys in the haunt world, like running a business that caters to haunts this time of year. I got to be in the office until midnight, all through the haunt season. I miss going to them, man. So I actually really love the off season stuff. I try to get out to those because I rarely have the opportunity during, October, but I love that, Valentine's stuff or crazy St. Patty's Day or Krampus or whatever. I love going to those. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because this is your busy month. So what are you looking
Exactly.
like at you getting emails, phone calls, middle of the night? What kind of stuff's going on at HauntPay right now?
Oh yeah. I mean, we're gonna sell what, 2+ million tickets, in October this year. And which is, just my staggering numbers at some points, maybe closer to 2.5 million. So there are Saturdays that we'll do 3, 4, or $5 million in ticket sales, on a Saturday. And it doesn't matter if the system works perfect, like, just when you have hundreds of thousands of people checking out on a single night, the pure number, like if you just take, say, like 0.1% is going to have a question about the event, right? Well, they're coming to us first because we're the help button on the ticket page, So most of the time they're coming to us first. So we're getting, out of 100,000 people, we might get 1,000 people that are calling in and saying like, hey, can I bring my pet? Or, is there a wheelchair ramp? And I'm like, we don't know. Like, talk to the event or whatever. Or they might ask about a specific ticket, which we might know some information. So we're always filling in those details. So yeah, something like 80% of the calls that we get or emails or chats or whatever they are just questions about attractions. And then the other ones are like, hey, like, I wonder what it meant when it said my card was declined. And we walk them through. Oh, it looked like you had an invalid expiration date, your bank said. So you want to try it again and double check that expiration date or that CVV code, that sort of thing. So we're always doing that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's just crazy numbers this time of year, just because so many people are checking out and going to all these things, which we're grateful for, all that. But it's all hands on deck. Because unfortunately, just like for any haunt owner out there that wishes the revenue win all year long, for us, not every month is October either. Even though we do a decent business the rest of the year, it's nothing compared to October for us. So we love this time of year, but everybody's all hands on deck until midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., depending on the night.
We appreciate what you do.
Oh, likewise. I love all the haunt owners and appreciate what you guys do. And I often see you guys at when I'm on vacation in Florida afterwards and stuff like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
November, there's got to be the biggest vacation month for haunters out there, right?
Oh yeah. That's when you go like, ah,
Yeah. Love
big
it.
sigh, big sigh.
Yeah.
Wayne was saying, do you do better with food trucks or carnival type foods? I'd say anything. If you don't have tables and stuff, I'd say probably handheld things like walking tacos and corn dogs and stuff like that.
Tacos in a bag, man.
Yeah, if you have
Mhm.
places that sit down, I think anything really goes.
Great.
Rachel, is a survey from your accounts who use HauntPay or Open? So is a survey just people that you in your
No.
system, or is that for everybody?
Oh, we just pester the ones that use our system a little bit more. but no, the survey, we try to survey as many people as we can. We've had thousands of participants in the surveys, and we've gotten better through the years. So used to be we left thousands of people in on the surveys, and then we realized, oh, a lot of people are just filling this out because we say we'll award a few gift cards, and we do every year. With the people that take the surveys, we give out a certain number of gift cards that are just cash card type things. But we realized early on that people would just take anything for a chance to win a $25 gift card. So we had to start filtering out that data a little bit.
That's all the others. Okay.
That's all the other. No, we've got pretty good at it now.
Other. Did I win?
We've got traps in there. I'm not going to tell you what they are because I don't want to give it away. But we've got traps that are literally questions that if you answer one way, the other one should be the other way, right? And if they're not, we get rid of your data because we want this to be accurate for everybody that's out there. So, anyways, we're surveying anybody who will take this thing. We try to get you guys to share it every year. We try to get everybody we can to share it every year. And we get hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of participants every year. And also the survey is available for everyone. So I think I just threw this. I may have responded to a comment, but I'll just throw it at the bottom there. The survey is available it's just at hauntpay.com. But here's the direct link to actually the survey page. And you can download it. You can download it. If you download the PDF version, it doesn't have the cool animation. If you click view online, it's got all the cool animation that you're seeing on the screen right now. Kat did an amazing job putting all that together. So I like the animation.
Kudos to Kat. It looks great.
Yeah.
Kat and the team, because I imagine that it takes a few people to assemble all of this data and put it all together and make it look this damn good.
There.
So, what was I going to say now? I got sidetracked. Wayne, we did answer his question. Both Kat and I answered his question regarding the food trucks versus the carnival stuff as well. So, one of the things that for the other people that aren't watching on Facebook and seeing those comments is we'd done food trucks for a couple of years, having other people, and realized that there's profit in it. Just like doing the zombie shooting with the gel ball, we hire seasonal staff, and we ended up buying our own food truck for the haunt. That is all nice and wrapped with our haunt stuff, and each season we come up with similar items, but it's different stuff. This year we have bat wings, which are chicken wings, but we've also got fungi crunch, which is like a mushroom quesadilla, and some of these are themed for other things that are happening in the haunt. So it just the names, and same as some of our signature cocktail beverages have themed and changed slightly from year to year as to what they are. So it got to the point where we were getting enough people that turned out to be an investment by running our own food truck. But as we kind of mentioned in the question, the reply to Wayne, you need to make sure that you have enough customers coming through because it is a big investment. It's not a tiny investment. So you need to weigh that. It might be good just to do sort of the carnival or handheld foods. But if you're getting those, 1,000+ customers, maybe it makes sense to do A, B, or C and expand that a little further. Staff your own carnival, staff your own kitchen, and depending if you're in a facility that already has an integral kitchen in it, maybe that's something that you can just hire your a couple of cooks and a chef to do that, and get you have to get certified or get your permits through whatever region you're in, but in the end, it might prove to be an investment that's beneficial to you. Don't jump into it without looking at it deeply, though.
Yeah, and also think Kat was talking about different types of way your haunt's set up too. Because if you have a virtual queue and the people are waiting, then they have more time to eat. But if they're stuck in line, a lot of people don't want to eat while they're waiting in line because they're not relaxed and stuff, unless it's kind of a handheld thing. Or I know some haunts are big; they have vendors that walk around and sell stuff in the line. So that's an option too. But it's kind of, to me, it's kind of grow with your haunt. So you might starting out, maybe get some food vendors free. Come on out, set up your truck, see what happens. And as you get bigger, you can start incorporating things like that and see how things work. And running a haunt's all about experimentation. Just try something, and if it works, keep it. True. If it don't, cut it.
And the same goes internally for your haunt too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that scare doesn't work. Let's change it.
Let's change it. Could be the angle, could be a light, could be the actor, could be so many different variables involved in it.
Yeah.
I think there was one in there. John was talking about haunt competition. Do you see each other Are they more competitive now, or you see them working together? I think it's kind of a area thing. I've seen haunts that just hate each
Yeah.
other, but I've seen haunts
Yeah.
that they'll do a monthly ad finder, and they're all listed in there with coupons,
Yep.
and so I'd say
I've seen
try to
some of the
collaborate.
most I've seen some of the most like the ones that will do stuff together once in a while are the ones that hate each other too, which blows me away. Because they'll try to work with us. They're like, all right, we got to get everybody together. We've got 5 that we want to get together, and we want to do a group bundle through you guys. But he can't see my numbers, and I don't want to see his numbers, and like I don't trust him with the bank account, so it's got to go to this other bank account. Like, what? How are you working together if you have this little respect or trust for each other?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Trying to hold
It cracks me up.
your poker buddies, but you don't want to see each other's hands, right?
Yeah,
So,
right.
uh-huh.
It's kind of funny, but I think it's a good practice, right? Like when you can work together, I think this is one of those things. Rising tides raises all ships. If you get people in the area excited
Exactly.
about haunted houses, they're going to go to more haunted houses. They're not just going to pick one. They're going to go check everything out if they're having a good
That's
time.
right. Don't
Yeah.
necessarily think of it as competition. Think of it as cooperation.
Yeah.
You are getting people to go to both of your haunted houses and not go to the movies that weekend,
Yep, absolutely.
right?
Ooh,
So-
movies.
Well, there's some good ones, but you're trying to get the people. You're trying to get the people. Yeah, like you say, the rising tide, raises all ships. So, you can still have that friendly competition, and people can go to both of them if you guys cooperate. And that's something that you might be able to save a little bit on some of your advertising dollars if you do the two for one sort of thing. That was one of the questions I was going to ask. In the surveys, do you have any, especially for people who are advertising, do they discount tickets or discount admissions?
Oh, good question. We don't have a lot of information. We didn't actually ask about that, but anecdotally, I can say, there are a lot of people that will do discount admissions, especially I mentioned this, maybe it was before we jumped into things, but partnerships. I don't know if we were live at that point when we were talking about that, but man, if you can do a discounted admission and give it away, for some sort of partner organization, even if it's just a couple bucks off that you give to like whatever, the local Girl Scouts or something like that, and let them share that around. Like some of this stuff like goes like wildfire, or the local, school booster, things like that. And then if you can also do something where like, hey, we'll let you sell a discounted ticket and we'll give you $1. So maybe you can sell one that's $2 cheaper and we'll give you $1 off of each one that you sell towards your school booster, towards your nonprofit, towards this, towards that. Oh my gosh, those are some of the best haunts, or at least the best performing per dollar that they put into marketing. It is nuts how effective that can be for them. And what do you do like to cover that cost? I don't know, raise your price $2 the beginning of the season. They're covered, like if every ticket you end up giving out is a discounted one and you raise that $2, it doesn't much matter. Anybody can get it at the old price, right? And yeah, I think, those sort of games work, those sort of partnerships work. Even when you're partnering with other haunts and you can do cross sales there, I think that sort of thing works.
Yeah, I like Devin's comment about another thing we added this year that has been really successful is flavored sodas themed off all of our attractions. We purchased light up ice cubes that we drop in, which we believe is the real reason people are buying them. Low cost and great markup. Yes, so that's what it's all about is selling that thing that people have to have. They see one, they're like, oh, where'd they get that at?
Yeah.
And it becomes like contagious and everybody's got to have one. So
Yeah.
could be a bracelet, could be a glow in the dark bracelet or a necklace, or we used to do monster
that glow
shields.
stuff, man.
The glow stuff.
It's addictive. People want it, right? They got to have that little bit of swag, a little bit of glow, stand out. Yeah. I was going to ask, because you said next year you're going to, be doing this survey, trying to get it a little earlier. For all of these people that are on here tonight, listening and watching in future replays, where and when can they participate in this survey next year?
Yeah, I love that. I would absolutely love all you guys to participate in it next year. We usually try to get it out early in the season. I don't know exactly. I can't remember exactly when it came out. I'm going to say around Midwest Haunters this year. and we got all the data in over the summer and then out. So, maybe we'll try to have the initial survey out a little bit earlier this year, maybe closer to Transworld. We'll see when we actually get it out. I don't want to speak too much for Kat. She does an amazing job already on our team for this. So want to let her plan out her survey as it goes here. But, the best way to keep track, follow us on social media somewhere, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or, Instagram, follow HauntPay or jump on our email list from our website. Or, maybe we'll be able to convince the Haunters Toolbox crew to send out a reminder here when it comes out. So maybe
I'm willing because I'm
appreciate it.
There's only so many decisions you can make without data, right? Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes your gut feeling is wrong. So it's nice to have that empirical evidence saying, this is what seems to work. This is what's happening with most people. Then you can make that decision. Is that right for me? Is this a potential good investment to raise my ticket price because X number of people are doing it? Or is that going to be detrimental? So by seeing that data, you can get some of that information out there. So, and I am right that you said that it's not just the people that are subscribing to HauntPay or using HauntPay. You opened this up to everybody. So
on both sides.
We would like to see everybody participate.
I'd love that.
Survey doesn't take forever. He's trying to keep the questions low. Though I've added 6 of them tonight.
I've been taking notes here. Yep.
Okay, I apologize in advance, but just getting out there and getting that data and then having the team analyze it is just it allows everybody to make better decisions. And just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean that's right for you, but at least you have some evidence that A, B, or C. And maybe there's even some ideas out there just from taking the survey that you hadn't thought about for your haunt.
Sure.
And seeing that somebody else is doing it, you got that little bubble in the back of your mind, excuse me, going, oh, well, maybe I can do something with that. Maybe this is the year that I try and get, Joe's food truck down to us, and maybe I'll slip him an extra $10 if he renames his hamburger the Smash Face Burger or something, because we've got Smash Face as one of our character clowns, right?
Love it.
Just do something like that and do that cross promotion and investment with things outside of your company to make everything happy or make everything better and your customers happier.
Sure, for sure. Well, that's a great wrap. I appreciate it. That's you said it. That's why we want it out here. I appreciate all that you just said there, Daryl. Yeah.
That's what we do, man. We are trying to make the haunt industry a better place for everybody. There's some people that, don't play well with others, but overall the haunt community is such a we're what did I call it before, not competitors but cooperators. We cooperate with each other and we try and bring everybody up a little bit better, and just the haunt or the Halloween industry, not just the haunted attraction industry, is expected to hit over $12 billion in the United States this year. That's billion with a B. That's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And some of the things that we've seen is potentially people are still willing to spend money to go to some of these attractions. If you look at the big latest haunted attraction news that come out, they're talking about some of the big theme parks, and there's still actually people are willing to spend money for those ads, for the extra stuff. They've got the season pass to X, Y, or Z, and then they're going to spend another $100 or $200 each to go to these other things. Your haunt raising your tickets from $19.95 to $24.95, but adding all of that extra stuff that gives that customer's enjoyment that cost you $2 per person, and they're paying $5 more. They're still willing to spend stuff. Keep it under that 30 limit, because that's what a lot of people are doing, and that's the
good one
majority. So
yeah, well, I can't top that. So
I love it.
Want to thank everybody for coming on tonight and asking your questions. I like watching or seeing the survey, because especially with newer people, they may not know about bundling tickets. They may not know about midways. So they're, just by looking at your report can spark an idea. Like, well, what is that? What
Oh.
are they? And then they can kind of compare themselves, and see what they want to do, like Daryl was saying, so I think it's a
Yeah.
good thing
Yeah,
for
that's
everybody.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for having us on. Thanks for letting me walk through things here. I really appreciate the time and attention. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do it every year. I know
Yeah.
you've done
Love to
it
do that.
before, so we'll just kind of make it a thing. So
All right. I
All
love
right.
it.
Alex, good
All right.
seeing you again. Thanks to
Likewise.
all of our guests that showed up for this evening on all of our platforms that we're broadcasting out on, and thanks for all of your questions. This has been quite informative, and I hope everybody has an excellent haunt season. And what's that other holiday that comes after? Krampus. Yes.
No, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there seems to be 19% of people doing that or something like that. So I can't remember the numbers. Just making that off the top of my head. But
Awesome.
no, that's cool. That's cool. I hope everybody has a great season.
Yes. Be spooky. Go do something. Go visit something. Support your local haunts.
Yep. Absolutely.
Kramer, we'll see you soon, bud.
Y'all take care. Thanks for putting this on.
Yep. You're welcome. All right, guys. Have a great October. Signing off from Missouri.
Signing off from Edmonton, Alberta.
Signing off from Detroit.
Go
Thanks.
Detroit.
This podcast episode sponsored by Scarlet Badges. Get your Scarlet Badges at scarebadges.com. Also sponsored by Haunters Toolbox. Take your haunt to the next level at haunterstoolbox.com. Thank you for listening to Haunt Topic Radio. Please leave a comment wherever you found this podcast. Each comment you leave will help spread the word to other haunters around the world. See you next time.